and accept and even celebrate that we don't know. As Phoenix said, Mom, you essentially, as adults, we are not in a position to gauge learning because we are so indoctrinated into schooling. And for me, that is something that helps me to respect my daughter's boundaries and to recognize the moments when I will be like, you're not even doing nothing. And recognize, for example, with somatics, like, oh, I process through movement too. That's why when somebody's recording me, they're like, Akila, can you stop? You know, this is how my body is. So I am doing things, and I make circles in particular. And that's old as hell. And it's very much something that I'm doing. Or when I get up, when I feel upset and I put my feet down, right? And he's pacing because he's thinking and processing. In a classroom, you would never be allowed to just walk around. So we check that off as, you're not doing anything. Meanwhile, it is such an ancient way of getting into the connection of your body and mind and calling in that you now, through the tutelage of your child, you get to be back with that and say, yeah, my bad. Also, can you take out the trash?
Oh, absolutely. Exactly. Also, when you get done thinking and pacing, can you please take the trash out? But I had to say,
but go ahead.
But I said, you're right. I mean, what else can I say? I said, you're right. I didn't know what you was doing. You know, I can't put my own thoughts and feelings onto another person and say that, they're not doing anything. Like the audacity of me to say that to somebody.
Right. And so, and that's also, I think, an example of when we talk about what a practice looks like. So in that instance, we might say, well, okay, but our process is you have this much time to do these things as long as you take the trash out by 5, right? Those are chores. That's how that's set up. That's our process. A practice the way that it might shift to a practice over time is that Tiersa might notice, because she observes Phoenix without interrupting consistently, she might notice that typically around 4 and 6 p.m.-ish is the time that he's up and doing these things and walking around a lot and processing, even if it's just this particular week. So then, because they're in the mode of practicing and being in partnership together, she might say, actually, the only day that the trash needs to go out by 5 is on Fridays because the trash people come at 6 o'clock. So if he's doing what he's doing, do I need to say anything, or do we need to shift the chores this week to meet what's actually happening in real life, the way that I had to shift this around and say, Tiersa, can you log in because I need to leave the house unexpected? This is how we move from the process of having a well-oiled machine at home where your children are respectful and do all the chores over to a practice where your child sees you humanize them and humanize yourself and then say, oh, now I understand what's happening here. Even if they don't necessarily do the trash the time they're going to, we're building a relationship that isn't about trash. It's about communication. It's about trust. It's about agility, and it's about respect. Right?
I was about to say everything that you just said. I really was. I was going to say that this is about building a relationship. It's wonderful that we have the type of relationship where my son can say to me, Mom, you don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I was not in a position to say that to my parents. You know, I think about the fact that, you know, when I'm doing something, if somebody comes and interrupts me, I don't automatically switch from what I'm doing to what they want.
Exactly. Matter of fact, I'm like,
yes. Like, don't you see I'm working on something? You know, but as parents, it just seems like we have the authority to come and stop someone in the middle of their process to tell them what we want them to do, and that should supersede what they're doing right now. That's not respect. That is not respect to someone, you know. So I had to learn that, and I have a good relationship with them now. That was built over time. Mm-hmm. That if you say something to me, Phoenix, if you push back, if you push back, Mom's just going to reflect. It's not going to be who you talking to, boy? You know what I mean? Like, it's just going to be, oh, hold up.
Yeah.
You know, because we have a relationship that's built on trust and communication. So if I say something to him, he knows he can say something back to me.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
I can reflect, and it's a wonderful thing. It's like, oh, because that gives me more self-awareness into my own self, and to see what work I still need to do
I
on
love
myself.
the term reflection because that's another thing that feels like nothing. You know, it can feel like giving up or giving in. You know, for me, a lot of it was about like giving in because that's my own baggage. Even before I became Marley and Sage's mama, I was so like, yo, you know, I want to feel like I was surrendering or giving in. And I heap that right onto my parenting. So it really, it was very powerful for me when you use the word reflect. You say, I'm just going to reflect. That's why I keep saying, you know, the things I say out loud is so much what I say to myself. Like Marley and Sage will tell y'all, because I say it out loud in the house. Their resistance is my roadmap. Resistance is the roadmap. I have to say that so often because otherwise I feel sometimes like I'm giving in, which doesn't, you know, then I'll eventually come back around to that. But what I'm doing is actually I'm giving way. Not giving in, I'm giving way. It's not surrender, it's passage. I'm giving passage, room, way for whatever it is that can emerge when we are actually listening to each other.
Yes.
As opposed to me making the decision that, yo, you're not listening to me, and my job is to make sure you listen to me, because that's where I used to come from and still sometimes come from.
Oh, yes.
But
Oh, yes.
because of that trust,
Right.
as you said, then they can call me on it and say, yeah, but it doesn't even feel like you're listening to me, or I didn't even finish what I was saying. And then I can be like, oh, what Tiersa said, let me reflect. And that reflection does not mean that I come back and like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. It's not about giving up or giving in. It's about giving way.
Yes.
And that's, I feel like reflection is such an important takeaway when we talk about the difference between the process of going from schoolish to something else and the practice.
Yes, I love that you said resistance is the roadmap. I love that because I always say what I resist will persist. Whatever resistance I'm going to get, it's going to keep showing up over and over and over again because I'm resisting it instead of letting go. Just like you said, I keep fighting this. Resistance means I'm fighting this. I'm pulling at something. So if I resist it, it's going to keep showing up in my life.